Hey guys, welcome to Sports Bros. I'm your host, Robert. Today I'm going to talk to you about my week one picks for the NFL. First game is the Falcons Eagles Thursday night. Now, to me, the Eagles had a great run last year. Nick Foles, I really don't think it's going to work out for the Eagles this year. Nick Foles is going to be starting for a few games until Carson Wentz comes back. The Falcons, on their end, I love the Falcons. Matty Ice always has a notorious career of having a great year, then a bad year. He had a bad year last year, coming off a bad year. They still have Julio Jones, added Calvin Ridley, and I think they're a better team for that. And I think they're going to beat the Eagles on opening night. The next game I have is the Bills and the Ravens. To me, the Bills made a big mistake getting rid of Tyrod Taylor and everybody else they got rid of. They're going to take a step back to me. Josh Allen's not that good. Nathan Peterman's starting. They just got rid of A.J. McCarron. The Ravens, the Ravens, they're not any better. They still got Joe Flacco. Not a good quarterback in my opinion. But they're a better team than the Bills. And I think them adding also Michael Crabtree is going to be a good threat downfield, good red zone target for fantasy football if anyone wants to know. So I picked the Ravens over the Bills. My next pick is going to be my next teams are the Steelers versus the Browns. Now, to me, the Steelers, you could say it's a clear pick because of the Steelers. But then you could also look at the Browns and say, all right, they've added a lot of talent. They say again Josh Gordon back. They added Carlos Hyde. They did lose Joe Thomas. They also added Jarvis Landry and Tyrod Taylor. So they've definitely rebooted their team a lot, and I think they're going to be a good team, not a playoff team. But just for a safe pick for me, I'm picking the Steelers week one. The next game we got is the Bengals and the Colts. And that's a weirdly interesting game to me because Andrew Luck's come back from an injury. The Bengals coming off a bad season. Dalton's going to be healthy. They just added Gorgie Glenn. And Joe Mixon's going to – I think – the Bengals are going to have a good year too. Maybe not make the playoffs. But Tyler Eifert too, he's going to be healthy. I think Eifert's going to be a big fantasy player this week at least because the Colts are horrible against tight ends. That's how it was last year, and the Colts have a horrible defense. So I'm going with the Bengals over the Colts, basically just because the Colts have a horrible defense. My next game we got the Titans and the Dolphins. Now the Titans, they still have Marcus Mariota. They got rid of Mike Mularkey, the head coach. I don't really believe in the Titans. Neither do I really believe in the Dolphins, but they're getting Tannehill back. They've added a few little pieces. So we'll see what's going to happen, but I'm picking the Dolphins over the Titans. The next game we got the 49ers and the Vikings. To me, it's a clear thing. It's the Vikings over the 49ers. Garoppolo is going to have a great year, I think. They may or may not make the playoffs, but they're definitely going to be right up there. What Garoppolo did last year was amazing. He took a team that was probably going to be number 1, number 2, number 3 overall, and went on a 4 or 5 game winning streak, throwing to guys like Marquise Goodwin, another fantasy guy I really like this year. So the Vikings, they added Kirk Cousins. They don't have Keith Keenum anymore, which is fine. It's a big upgrade. They're getting Dalvin Cook back, who I think is also going to have a good year. So I really believe in the Vikings this year. Don't know if they're going to make the Super Bowl, but they're going to be a great team this year. So with 49ers, but I'm picking the Vikings over the 49ers. The next matchup, we got the Texans and the Patriots. So the Texans are getting Deshaun Watson back. And they just lost Mike Vrabel, who became the head coach of the Titans. So they lost a defense coordinator, even though they didn't have good defense last year. But they also added the Honey Badger and Tyrann Mathieu. I think their defense is going to be a lot better. Also, J.J. Watt's coming back from injury. Hopefully he stays healthy. Hope for the Texans. I believe in the Texans. They're going to probably be a wild card team to me if everyone's healthy. But the Patriots, that's another thing. The Patriots, I don't know. To me, I feel like they're going to come up to a slow start. They just lost a bunch of players on offense and defense. They've added a few more pieces also. But I'm going to say it's an upset from the Texans at the Patriots. The Patriots are going to start out slow, but they're going to come back around, definitely be the first or second seed, in my opinion. So then we got the Buccaneers versus the Saints. Buccaneers, they don't have Jameis Winston. So just for that, I'm not choosing the Buccaneers. But also, they've added a lot of good pieces. Vita Vea, their first-round pick. They added Jason Pierre-Paul. I think they just added Vin Curry with Gerald McCoy, their first 4 defensive players on the front line. It's amazing. And it's going to be very good. but to me, they're in maybe the hardest division in the NFL. And the Saints are great. That they just added Demario Davis on defense. Yeah, the Saints look really good from coming back from last year. They don't have Ingram, but they still have Alvin Kamara. So I'm going the Saints over the Buccaneers at the Saints. The next game I got the Jaguars and Giants. Now that's gonna be interesting because Jaguars come back from a season where they almost were in the Super Bowl. They've also added Andrew Norwell, probably the best left guard in the game. They brought back Blake Bortles, which I thought was a mistake. They should have used the extra $10 million. They should have spent the extra $10 million, got Kirk Cousins. But we'll see what happens. They still got a great dominant defense, and we'll see. The Giants, in their hand, I'm interested in them a lot. To me, they have Eli Manning come back. Now he sucked last year, but that's also because there was a lot of injuries. He has the worst offensive line. They added Nate Solder, Will Hernandez on the left side, moving Eric Flowers to the right. And I'm interested to see how that works. Also, to me, Saquon Barkley is going to be very, very great for that, is because, if the pocket collapses, he's going to get a lot of catches out of the backfield. So that's one reason I'm crazy about him in fantasy. They're getting OBJ back. They still have Evan Ingram, pass catching tight end, not a good blocker, but Sterling Shepard's also back. And then on defense, they're just moving back to 3-4. We'll see how that works out. I mean, they also added Alex Ogletree to be the middle linebacker. I don't know how that's going to pan out. But just for a safe pick, I'm going to go Jaguars over Giants. Still interested in the Giants, though. A lot of good playmakers. Just don't know how it's going to combine together. I think they should have drafted a quarterback and not drafted Eli Manning just for the future. So for all you Giant fans that are happy about Saquon Barkley, be happy about him for the next 2-3 years. And then once Eli Manning retires, then you're going to be saying, why didn't they draft Sam Darnold? I think the Jets made a great decision getting Sam Darnold. Easy pick. He's going to be a franchise quarterback for the next 10, 15 years for the Jets. The next game I have is the Chiefs and the Chargers. Chiefs got rid of Alex Smith. They still have their first round pick from last year, Patrick Mahomes. He's going to finally be starting. Kareem Hunt, awesome rookie year. Tyreek Hill is still great. Then they're going to get a healthy Kelsey. Then they have Sammy Watkins coming onto the team also. It's going to be a very explosive offense. I mean, you just got to hope that Mahomes is actually going to be very explosive. He has a cannon of an arm and two guys who can run down the field. And then he has someone who could go vertically across the field in Travis Kelce and a top 10 running back in the league. So we'll see. And then you also have the Chargers. Now, the Chargers, to me, last year, they only had a kicker. They probably would have won 11, 12 games, been in the playoffs. Only reason why the Bills were even in is because the Chargers had no kicker the whole year. So, to me, the Chargers, they've definitely upgraded. They've definitely helped out their team. They're getting Mike Williams back, their first-round pick from the following year. Philip Rivers is still very good. Mike Pouncey was, I'm pretty sure, a Pro Bowler for the Dolphins. Now he's their center. They added Derwin James. Great steal they got him. I think it was 18th overall they got him. Great steal they got Derwin James. So I'm picking the Chargers over the Chiefs. I think in the standings, Chargers are going to beat the Chiefs. At least for just this year. We'll see what happens with Mahomes in the future. Next game is the Redskins and the Cardinals. The Redskins are interesting. They just added Alex Smith, got rid of Kirk Cousins, added Paul Richardson. They don't have a running back. You could say Adrian Peterson, but Peterson hasn't been good in the last 2 years. Hopefully when they get Chris Thompson back, they'll be good. They're also in one of the hardest divisions in the league. Then the Cardinals, I like Bradford. I really do. But he's always been injured his whole career, and I don't know who's starting, if it's him or Rosen or even Mike Glennon. I'm picking the Redskins first week. The next game I have is the Cowboys and the Panthers. Now, the Cowboys, they lost Dez Bryant. I don't think that's the big deal. Dez Bryant wasn't doing good the past 2 years. They saved the money. They also just cut Dan Bailey. I don't know why they did that. That's probably one of the best kickers in the game, maybe because of money reasons. But they get Ezekiel Elliott back. They still have their great offensive line. So now they're going to be a much better team with Ezekiel Elliott. When they didn't have last year, they were not that good. So now it takes a lot of pressure off Prescott, even though his number one receiver is Allen Hurns, and we'll see what happens. The Panthers, in their hand, they still have Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey. I think he's going to be great. Now he's the full-time number one. I think they also have Sony Michel, if I'm not mistaken. But McCaffrey's going to have a great year. But I'm picking the Cowboys week 1. Next game I got is the Seahawks and the Broncos. Let's see, the Seahawks really just going to have to be starting to be rebuilding. They still have a franchise quarterback in Russell Wilson. They've lost Cam Chancellor, and Sheldon Richardson, the guy they traded for. Let's see. I think they've lost some other pieces too, but the Seahawks are they're going to be on a down year in a division that's actually coming up on the uprise. The Rams just add a lot of talent. 49ers can be better. Cardinals are trying to get together. Then you got the Broncos, Case Keenum addition, a good quarterback, better than Paxton Lynch or Trevor Siemian. And Bradley Chubb be on the right side of Von Miller. It's going to be a devastating defensive pass rush. We'll see what they do, but I'm picking the Broncos over the Seahawks. My next game I got the Bears and the Packers. To me, the Bears, they just got a great trade just getting Khalil Mack. 2 first-round picks is a lot to give up for that. They obviously believe in Trubisky. I personally don't. The guy hasn't proven anything to me yet, but their defense is going to be great. They've added Allen Robinson. I loved Allen Robinson 2 years ago. He had a bad year, then he tore his ACL last year, so we'll see how he does. They still have the very good backfield and Jimmy and Howard, and then they also have Tarek Cohen. So hopefully that could really help out the offense for the Bears. But then I'm looking at they're playing the Packers. Now the Packers, Rodgers has come back. They've gotten rid of Jordy Nelson, which they have Devontae Adams now. Cobb's now number 2. And they added Muhammad Wilkerson on the defensive line. They also have Jimmy Graham on the offense. I have a heavy favorite the Packers to win their division over the Vikings. Maybe not heavy, but I think the Packers are going to have a very great bounce back year. The only reason why the Vikings won the division to me is because the Packers weren't that good because Rodgers was injured because he broke his collarbone against the Vikings. So we'll see how that folds out. My next game, they're the Monday night games. You got the Jets versus the Lions. Me, Jet fan. I'm going to pick the Jets, not just because I'm a Jet fan, just because I think it's going to be good first week. Sam Darnold's going to be playing. He got the starting job. They traded away Teddy Bridgewater. They're going to have a good offense. Not a good offense. They're going to look pretty good. They still have Robbie Anderson, Jermaine Kearse, and Quincy Enunwa. People want to crap on the Jets wide receivers, but pretty good wide receivers. They don't have an offensive line. Then you got the Lions, new coach Matt Patricia. And they got basically the same team as last year. So we'll see what happens, but I'm picking the Jets over the Lions. And then finally, my final game, I got the Rams and the Raiders. The Rams just added a monster talent. They've added Aqib Talib, Marquise Peters, Ndamukong Suh. They re-signed Aaron Donald. Their defense is going to be extraordinary. Their offense was great last year. They also added Brandon Cooks instead of having Sammy Watkins. So then I look at the Raiders and I say they just trade away their best defensive player. To me, their only defensive player to get Derek Carr back. Added Jordy Nelson, but I'm going to go with the Rams or the Raiders. So that's my picks for week 1. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe.